Okay. I promised you guys some content earlier, so I'm gonna come back at it. I also cleaned up a little bit, but I'm also at the part in Wolf Hall for research purposes where Thomas Cromwell is taking vengeance on like all of the people who fucked over and got like banished. His mentor and father figure, Cardinal Wolsey, and it's just the cold, calculated moves. Beautiful. But content. That's the thing, right? I want to kind of lace all of my like requests and stuff with fun like stuff, right? So the next chapter in the book or their next release is gonna inaugurate a like a medieval fantasy version of a stagecoach robbery, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're also going to meet a new character, and this one goes out. This guy goes out a very special shout out to a certain gentleman who shall remain nameless unless he wants to be named. But his character is based on someone very specific, and the character's name is McVen. I believe he's a baron. He's a landed man. He's a lord. He's something. He's not quite an earl, but like he's or a duke or something, but he's not. He's up there. And I named somebody, by the way. I take a lot of pride in my names, but um, and I'm careful about them. But this one I just wrote Daniel. So there's some character named Daniel now. I got it. So they might change his name. Also, in this world, I know that tobacco would not be introduced into Europe for the next like 400 years or so. But in this world, they both chew tobacco, which is gross. Okay, and the main character is not about that. Okay, I mean he does it when he chews. It's called Noka, Noka, right? It's kind of like a souped up version of nicotine here. That's more of a stimulant. But basically the same thing. But he prefers to kind of like smoke it in little like in a pipe either or like because that's how it would make sense I think because like this leads to kind of like humorous subplots like this one, right? Because no one has lighters, no one has matches, right? I mean, I need to look into that. Maybe there were ways to quickly start fires. Maybe people had like flint and stuff, but like imagine if you wanted to like smoke a little cigarillo of like some Noka, some tobacco. Noka's from like nicotine kind of, but like a little bit more like narcotic Noka, you know. But the main character does not chew it. He chews wet Noka when he has to and when he's outdoors, but he that's like one of his pet peeves is when people chew tobacco and spit it out. He's like, I can't deal with it. He smokes. He's a smoker, as are many people in this world, but he's not. I just like if you're gonna have like smokable tobacco, then you've got to have also, I think, like chew tobacco because that's but anyway, it leads to humorous interchanges like this one. So before there's the comedic subplot with McVen. McVen is a serious character, don't get me wrong, but he's also funny as hell. At least I like to think so. So this is before the stagecoach robbery, and we're not calling it a stagecoach. I'm calling it a carabalista, which was a Roman armored car kind of thing, and I you can see one in Gladiator by Ridley Scott, and I'm like warning sign or no, I'm a big Ridley Scott fan, and I don't care who knows it. But the Carabalista, that's what we're calling it. But it's in Gladiator, where Commodus and Connie Nielsen's character, they're both in this Carabalista, like this armored kind of thing. The Baron's men are making a run for the coast because they need to keep supply lines open. They're landlocked and they're primarily fed by fluvial supply lines, i.e., river based. They're kind of like a Holy Roman Empire type deal. Deep into Central Europe, in this case, would be Nuovo Ada, which is what the Terrans, Terans, the main kind of group who are based on the Normans call them. But anyway, so Daniel struggled to light a cobbled together little Noka cigarillo. Can't you just shove that in your mouth? That's what Haldrick does, said Rhubarb. There's an Easter egg. I if I get like a subscriber out of this or one or two, then I am keeping rhubarb as a name. It's happening. Um, said rhubarb. The more illustrious. These were all the chief Noka addicts among the smokers among AFL's band. I know this is raw, like this is just hand, like notes. We have not met. We have not yet met Rhubarb, a knight, Daniel, a lord, McVen, a baron. Oh, I'm just like listing out like okay, so, and then Marlowe. So, McVen's full name is going to be McVen Marlowe Ansrapor. And so McVen was using so McVen uses like a little hammer, like Charles Martel, whose epithet was Charles the Hammer, which I always thought was badass. And McVen's thing is like he doesn't clean it, like except to like sharpen it. So like it's like this like nasty rusty thing, but he keeps it because it's good luck. I don't know. It's weird, but I think it adds a little bit of like character. And people are always like, you need to clean that shit off. And he's like, no, I can't. If I clean it up, then I'll die. So McVen was using an ugly little hammer that he refused to clean, except occasionally to sharpen the point. So it's like Charles Martel's hammer. It's got like a claw on one end and then a hammer on the other, or like a hammer, right? Um, uh, when asked whether he had named the little weapon for which he was famous, he maintained that naming weapons was for little boys and their romances. But if they insisted, then McVen naming swords was a big deal, some dumb man shit that they did back then, so Excalibur shit. But they insisted, for McVen would surely come up with a name equal parts craven and yet somehow endearing, as when a man makes a comment with a wink, or a pass at a woman, complimenting her with a wink as opposed to a leer. For all his many strengths, it wouldn't often occur to him that a wink rarely made anything okay. Okay is not going to go in there, and I'm sorry to my friend, but like I can't control where this goes 100%. So we have flawed characters in this universe. AFL, chief among them. Okay, he's a gregarious, he's a flirty guy. All right, that's the. But basically they're arguing about like how they got to scrum up some Noka, and so there's some cigarettes basically, and so they're like going through all these things. So they're talking about a new squire, and it's pretty funny. Oh, okay. So Castleton, who's AFL squire, I'm gonna need to get some water in a second. But Castleton, who's AFL squire, is rolling over, is riding over, and he's carrying news from AFL. And AFL is saying like this upcoming robbery that we're about to do, this upcoming heist, whoever can get me some smokable Noka, right? Like if the bear, because they're out of it, right? They've been hitting the Crestel Rion deer, which is like kind of this like savanna Serengeti grassland. They've been hauling ass across that. They haven't had time to re-up for anything, so they don't have much, and they definitely don't have a luxury like tobacco or Noka. So AFL kind of half jokingly is like, go tell like McVen and those guys, like the wrecking crew. We got to come up with like a name for them, but like go tell those guys if anyone is going to find some nicotine during this fight, then it's going to be those guys. All right, I got to pause because I need some water.